Good morning. Can you all hear me now? Yay, good morning. How you doing, Noobcat? So, we're going to try this out today. It's going to be the first, hopefully, of many of these kinds of activities. Today, I wanted to try to just bang out an application where we're creating an app from scratch. So,
Good morning. Can you all hear me now?
something I enjoy doing quite a bit is to create these apps kind of on the fly. And I do these a lot in demos where, I don't know, I'll be up on stage and I'll be creating an app, doing whatever. And sometimes I have something planned and sometimes I have nothing planned. Today I have very little planned. Other than that, I wanted to make sure I could create an app from scratch and kind of get some feedback. So, yep, I think there was an echo for a little bit, and I believe I muted the rest of the stuff there. So go ahead and check that out. I just muted my speaker, so thanks for calling that over here. Welcome everybody for joining. And kind of first off, I wanted to talk about the Angular app itself. A couple things I'm going to be building today, and we're going to hopefully do this in about 90 minutes-ish. We'll see what happens. I'm going to build an Angular app from scratch. A couple assumptions I'll make is that you have Node, that we've got the Angular CLI here already, and you've got tools like VS Code. So as long as we've got those, we should be good to at least kick things off, and then where we go from there, we'll figure it out. Okay, so let me switch over to my code window. Dun, dun, dun. Let's see here. All right. So here we go. Yeah, some folks are saying they had to refresh the browser to get the stream. Yeah, that'll happen sometime. So thanks for pointing that out, Quintine. All right, so over here, I was thinking about, there's this thing called the Tour of Heroes. And it's something I wrote with Ward Bell a couple of years ago for Angular. And if you kind of Google that, you can kind of see what this Tour of Heroes kind of builds out. I wanted to start with this to kind of build an app, something like this, where we've got a list of heroes, and then maybe later in future episodes, we can kind of sit there and build functions and serverless data in the background, put some database behind it, host it in the cloud. So I figured maybe this would be a multi-purpose episode. All right, so what does Heroes have? Heroes starts with a basic app. And I don't know about you, but I can't stand creating apps unless they've got some kind of theme to them, some kind of, I don't know, color and style. So I wanted to use Angular Material. And it's been a while since I looked at Angular Material, so we're going to kind of do this together. Used to do this a lot, and it's been about 3 months since I did it, so hopefully not a lot changed. But let's decide to create an app from scratch using this. So first, I have a terminal open, and when I'm done, I'll put everything up on GitHub too. So first, let's just create a new app. Now to do this, I'm going to use this Angular CLI command. You can see I've got the Angular CLI here. And the Angular CLI version, I think it's currently 1.6.6. So I'm going to create this app using the ng-new command, and I'm going to call it Tour of Heroes Twitch. And I'll put this on GitHub when I'm done. And let's do a couple options. Like, I want my application components to have a prefix of TOH. If you don't set this here, then it's going to be set to app, which doesn't kill you, but I kind of like TOH. And then also, I know I'm going to want routing in my app, so I'm going to add -- routing to the application. So this is going to create a brand new app from scratch. So a couple good questions while this is building up, because it's installing NPM now. John Nodvelt, going to hear my great pronunciations today, is asking, is ng Material like Materialize CSS? I'm not familiar with Materialize. ng Material is an implementation of the Material design pattern, which is by Google, and then they've got an Angular implementation of that, which kind of helps create the design stuff. And hey, Frosty, welcome, good to see you here. Thank you. If you wouldn't mind actually answering questions like that along the way, that'd be awesome. Maybe you can provide a link over in the chat for everybody too, to what that's going to look like and how you get there. And I'll go back to the main page real quick. I tried to arrange my windows so we could see a couple things at the same time. So here's the Angular Material scene on the left, and you kind of get this nice little design pattern. It kind of shows you what it looks like, and I can show you an example. Let's go to a component, and let's just pick, I don't know, a toolbar. You can see an example here. There's a basic toolbar. Let's go to a little bit wider. You can see like you get icons and colors and themes, all sorts of cool stuff. So it gets you something a little bit better looking than having nothing. All right, so we've got an app over here. And if I do a quick ls, you see I got a lot of stuff in my Git folder. And I call this one Tour Hero Twitch. And if you look in there, there's a folder. I'm also going to open up VS Code. I've got a shortcut, a bash alias that uses C to open up code in the current folder with a dot. So we're going to do that real quick. And there is VS Code. And there he is. So now here's our app. We can see the app itself as a single component, which just says hello. And let me run that real quick. We'll go back to terminal. So we can see this, and then I'm going to run ng serve-o. That's going to build the app in memory with Webpack, and then it's going to open it up in the browser. We'll make sure it actually works first. So I had a question here about yarn or npm, yay or nay, and why. Let's start with the hard questions, huh? I use npm just because it's always worked for me, and it's gotten a lot faster in the last couple of versions. There was a brief couple of months where I used yarn quite a bit. It's pretty cool. I have no problem, nothing against it. I just happen to prefer npm at this point. Hey, Ward Bell's here. Quick surprise, a lot of people might not know, but Ward and I are really good friends, and we're going to do an episode of this together in the future where you get to look at Ward's great outfits on camera. Okay, so let's say we're here, we got the app running. Now let's go back to our VS Code, and let's try to open this up side by side quick. You can see a couple great features. I can actually delete a lot of those links real quick, and the image. When I do that, it should automatically rebuild, and there we go. And let's get rid of the, let's just say up here, it's going to be hello Twitch. Oops. Let's do it here. And yes, I can't type. Awesome. So we can see that it's actually running live at this point. Now, a couple of things we're going to add. So we mentioned we wanted material. The first thing I'd like to do is have a couple of things in the app. So I want to make sure I can have, let's say, 2 pages. Maybe we'll create a home and a heroes page. And then with those, we'll have like routing, so you go back and forth between them. And then we're also going to want to add a material to create like a toolbar across the top. So there's a couple of things we can add in this app. I've got a couple good questions over here. What does the O do? Oh, yeah, the -O, that opens it up inside the browser. So when I do that ng, I think I typed ng serve-o, that means open. It's short for that, or for that, like that. I happen to like that because it makes it easier to see what's happening as you go. So first, let's go over to Angular Material, and then there's a Getting Started. In the first step, it says you got to npm install all this stuff. So we're going to copy this. I'm using npm. We'll go back over here, and I'm just going to kill the process for serving it in the browser. And then npm install save Angular Material in the CDK. Then there's a snapshot build. We're not going to do that. Do we want animations in the app? Who wants animations? I know I do. All right, so once this goes, we're going to use some animations. And there's actually another one we have to install too. It's going to be Hammer.js, I believe. Yeah, for gesture support. So we'll install Hammer.js after this. All right, so that's this one. And then we're going to run Hammer.js. There's our npm install. That'll get those up and running. A couple good questions there. Yes, Ward Bell is a legend, Christopher. We're definitely going to get him on here. And someone asked about the theme I'm using. Yeah, it's called Winter is Coming. It's one that I created for VS Code. And there's the link to it right there. You can grab that. It's free. All right, so now we've got those packages. If I open up VS Code again, we should be able to see what's inside the package.json folder. Looks like we added material. We've got the CDK. It doesn't look like it added everything though, so let me go make sure we got everything in there. Command not found, Hammer.js. Looks like it didn't happen. Command not found. That's not good. This is why we always check. I must have an extra space or something in there. So once it's installed these, we got Angular animations, we've got material. We should have Hammer here as soon as it's done. Where is it? There you go. Anybody know why they call it Hammer.js? If you know, just put it in the chat window. I'm pretty sure this fits somewhere between Ward Bell's history and Brian Clark's. Give you a hint. It's from a guy named MC Hammer. All right, so once we get this app there, we've got material in the app. There's a couple things in the code we have to run. Yes, Berry Bounty, you got it. MC Hammer. Thanks for playing along. So once we add material, we have to add the stuff to the app module. What stuff is John talking about? If we go back to the guide, you notice I'm one of those guys who I read the guide and I go from step 1 to 2 and I jump down to step 5, I think. So maybe you shouldn't follow me that closely. But the next step is this browser animations module. We want to add this to the app so we can use it. And then we're going to grab the browser animations module and we're going to import it into our module here. And I'm going to press save and it reformats because I'm using an extension called Prettier. And then adding components. This is the cool part, or the key part that I always looked at, both cool and key. When you're adding Angular material, you got to kind of figure out what things are you going to use. I'm definitely going to be using buttons. Like if we go back to the components here, let's kind of get an idea of what components we want to use. So I'm going to use a button because I want to have buttons in my app, and I'm going to use a toolbar, something across the top. So here's the key. Notice the pattern for naming. I'll make that a little bigger. It's mat button module, mat checkbox module. So you say mat and then the feature name, then module. So let's go and add some of those. First, I'm going to type import. Now the second imports that I'm using, and because that's the one that does a little snippet, and it's Angular material. And then when I get out of there, I'm going back over here. Now I'm going to type in mat module, and you notice I get the list of all the modules that are there. So there's the button module, mat module again, and oops, need a comma, don't I? And now I can look for the one with the toolbar. And notice I'm using partial naming. Now we can add all sorts of ones if we want to. For right now, let's just add the ones we know we're going to use. I'm going to press save. It's going to format it. And then I'll go grab these two. And we're going to import it into our app. Cool. So as we're creating this, you're seeing that I'm deciding that I'm going to use the button and the toolbar inside the application, and you import just those features. Now, why do I just import those features? Because I don't want to pull in all of Angular material. That might float your boat. It does not float mine, so I'm not going to go that route. Makes it smaller of an app. Next up, you got to pick a theme. So here's one by default. Let's grab that and you put it in your style CSS, it tells you. So let's go do that. So I add it to the end of here, and there's an indigo and pink theme. You can customize your themes too. So if I go up to, maybe it's under select theme. Nope, that's not it. Material, let's go here. Getting started. It's actually on the same page, isn't it? Theming guide. Like if you want to pick a different one, there's a couple built-in themes. I happen to like this indigo and pink. So I'll use that. And that's what I chose. How convenient. But you can also change them around just by changing the link. And if you're not using import, you can also use this as a link reference too. So good question. Digital Drummer, what was the shortcut that made the imports vertical? Oh, actually that was save. What I did is I'm using a shortcut. I'll show you over here in my extensions. Pull that open a little bit. Good question. I have the Prettier plugin, and Prettier will automatically format your code a certain way. I have a couple settings that I set up for Prettier. You can see it inside of here. I have Prettier with 100 character width, single quotes true, and bracket spacing is true. Bracket spacing puts the spaces around your symbols. So like right here, there's a space between the curly and then the word mat button module. So what makes it actually format like that? Because this was longer, like if I got rid of those two, actually let me get rid of 3 of them. And then I save, notice it goes on one line. And if I go across the board and I type them in, let's say, I kind of format it like that, it'll also fix it for me as soon as it does save. Prettier is awesome. And if you want, like a lot of the extensions I use, they're actually in a little pack. I have this pack called Angular Essentials that I created, and it's actually just a list of about 6 or 7 extensions that I use. It comes with a theme that you've been asking about, Prettier, the Chrome debugger, and a couple other things that I use all the time. Cool. All right, so where did we leave off? We just picked our theme. Let's go back over here and let's figure this out. Gesture, adding material icons. Ooh, that's a good one. If we're going to use icons, we're going to want to do this. So we're going to put that inside of our index.html, it says. And it says it's optional, but I'm going to put it in. Because if you decide to use them, it's helpful. If you're not going to use icons, I'd recommend not putting it in. It's one less thing to manage and maintain as you go through. Question from PTXTT. I didn't notice you add a style flag on creating the app. Yet all the styles files are Sass. Ah, yes. Good. Keen eye. Is there a global that you can avoid having to set styles to SCSS? Yes. So what you're referring to is over here, when I did ng new foo, you could do style SCSS on every new app. I happen to like using Sass all the time. So if you create a Angular JSON file in the root of your home folder on a Mac, I assume it's in your user folder on Windows, you can actually set up your defaults. So let me show you my local one. Notice it's saying the style is SCSS here, and then down below somewhere, style extension on line 57 says it's set to be SCSS. Mike Brocky, thank you for joining. Actually works on the CLI team. Thank you. You can set a little command line there. It says ng set global prop value, and that'll set it for you. And that basically creates that in your home folder. I did it once, and I forgot the command because once you do it, it's done. So that's awesome. It lets me use SCSS when I want to, or Sass. All right, so let's make sure we got all these steps. We installed material. We installed the animations. We got our components. We got our theme, our gesture support, and we added the icons, and we're not using System.js. We're using what's built out of the box from the CLI. Cool. So next steps. Let's see if the app still runs. So let's go back to terminal. ng. Instead of typing serve, we're going to type dash, just type S. That's basically just a shortcut for serve. And down. I can't pronounce that one. Down P1 USB. Have you installed Hot Towel yet? No Hot Towel for Angular 5 yet. Although now that schematics exist, thanks to Mike Brocky and many others, that's something I might do with Mr. Ward Bell. All right, so the app still runs. It's still not very exciting. That's okay. We'll add some more things to it. So first up, we probably want to go create some components. So the component commands, a couple things we can do here. Let's go full screen on our, Warbell, you're screaming, that's awesome. Let's go full screen and kind of just type some commands out. ng generate component is how we create a component. I want to have one called home, and I'm going to put it right in the root. So we'll do that here. That's going to generate it for me. And then I want to create one called heroes. Now this one, I want to create the new module, and I'm going to put it in a module so I can like lazy load it or do code splitting. So ng, I'm going to do G for generate, M for module, and I'm going to call it heroes. And this is going to be a routing module. And I'm going to do dry run just in case I screwed something up. -dr is basically practice. That's cool. All right, hero routing. Yep, that's what I want. I created a folder called heroes with the routing. So then we'll do this. Awesome. Let's flip over to code, just make sure it's what we wanted. There's the home component, and there's the heroes routing module. All right, so then inside of heroes, I want to create a component called heroes. So let's go ahead and say a new component called heroes/heroes. That puts it in that folder. And then I want to make sure I declare that component in the module. So I'm going to say, go to heroes/heroes. dot module. And I'll do a dry run just to make sure it's going to do what it wants. So it created heroes components, and put it into it updated in heroes module. It looks correct. We will find out, won't we? All right, so let's go back to code, and we'll check this out. There's a heroes module where I've got my component. I've got routing, which nothing's routing yet, and I've got a heroes component. Amazing. All right, so that's basically all the stuff that comes out from these components. Next up, we probably should figure out what do we want to put in these components and how do we route to them. Let's see if we got any questions. Ansanayas. I'm really butchering these names in chat. Sorry. Thank you for joining, by the way. I think I'm going to start using Prettier from today. Yeah, Prettier is awesome. I love it. It's great. I only change a couple settings that comes with default because I like single quotes. Then Tim Ewer. Hey, Tim. How you doing? Good old friend. Is there a CLI command to get you bootstrap all material stuff? I did. Not yet, but that's what schematics will be with Angular. Mike Brocky, who's from that team, is on the chat today, and they're working on this thing. They've already created this thing called schematics, and you can create your own basically templates and things that you can create from the CLI. So all the steps I just did, you wouldn't have to do that anymore, which is awesome. Cool, and the H Granda. If you're using VS Code, it's easy installing an extension. Yep, that's right. I need spec tests if I'm a beginner, John is asking out there. That depends who you ask. You do not need them to run the app. It's depending if you want to write unit tests or not and kind of see where everything's heading towards. I'm not going to be writing tests today, so WordBell loves it, and he will probably make fun of me for it. I definitely would include them in the app because it doesn't hurt anything, and then if you don't want them, you can always get rid of them pretty easier later. Cool. Yeah, and thank you for answering Ward and Mike for Mr. Tim Hewer. Okay, so we have our app. We've got a couple of these components. Let's go make the routing work. So first, in the app routing module, we've got this home and we've got heroes. Home is a component right in the root, and it just says home. And I want to go there in the app routing module. So in this routes up here, here's what I do. I have some snippets which I type a path default, and it kind of fills out what I want to do. So by default, if I have the empty path, which is what that quotes is, it's going to go to home. All right, so let's create another path. This one's going to be eager. Eager loading means it's going to load it right out of the gate. It's going to be called home, and I want it to go to the home component. Now you notice it's got a red underline. That's usually bad. I can hit the command dot. It's going to import the home component for me. So VS Code's doing the magic here to automatically pull that in. Next, I want to do an eager loading of heroes. So for that one, and I always forget the syntax of this, I may have to go look some things up. I want to lazy load the heroes one. Why? Because I can. The path then becomes, I think, app/heroes/heroes dot module. I think that's what I named it. And then this is heroes module. With a capital H. Hey Brocky, if I got any code wrong here, make sure you let me know. Heroes is the first one, and then heroes module, and then the name of the module is what matches the class on line 14. I think that is correct. Cool. And then the last one I'm going to create, because I'm kind of OCD about this, is one called the 404 path. 404 path is where do I go if I put in a path that nobody could find. So we need a component called path not found component. Let's go create that. That'll be nggc, and we'll call it path not found. We'll put it right in the root. And once it's there, we can come back over, command dot, and it added it for us. So we got our routing set up. Any questions thus far? Thiago Zanetti, Clarkio, this is the Git extension, highlights untracked modified files. Yes, I'm using that in here too. Digital Drummer, there's a free book on LeanPub available on schematics. Oh, that's cool. So the Angular schematics book's already out there. I gotta check that out. And Tim, yeah, cool. So use the templates in the .NET CLI. That'd be a great one to have custom ones. Yes. Something that I've been thinking about since I work for Microsoft, as does Tim, is figuring out how do we kind of marry up some of the CLI stuff in Angular to some of the templates that we can hook in with ASP.NET. Maybe if we all say please, we can get Ward Bell to create those for us on this today. Not create it today, but maybe we can get him to commit to it, huh? See, Ward, what happens when you show up? All right, so we have the routing, which is going to go to heroes module. But we also need to go into that heroes module because it's got its own routing. And here, we're going to do one for the default. We're going to say go to heroes. And that's going to be the default path, I believe. And I'll create one here for default, which is going to then, that's not what I wanted, a path eager. So heroes, and this will be the heroes component. And we'll import that. Cool, so I think we are good. Anybody see any bugs? Ward says, in your dreams, baby. Oh, come on, everybody. If we all say please in the chat, I think Ward Bell is going to do it for us. He gives in pretty easy. Random question. I'm a back-end dev and writing Elm because it's familiar to me. Elm's pretty cool. And supposedly it can work with Angular code, sort of niche, but have you had to work with... I've never worked with Elm and Angular at all, actually. But a good friend of mine, Joe Eames, has played around with it quite a bit. Maybe I can reach out to him and get an answer for you in one of our podcasts that we do, Adventures in Angular. So good question. I missed it. Why do we need a separate module for heroes? We don't, actually. We could put everything right in the root. The idea is, imagine I'm building a much bigger app. And there was a whole bunch of things like heroes and villains, and the heroes are looking for jobs, and there's a crisis center that they have to go solve problems and save people. There's a lot of other things going on. You got like 50 components. Things can get really big in the root, and maybe even worse to maintain is that if you're loading 50 or 100 components right at the root of the app, maybe only 10% of those are actually used by the users. So I like to split out my app into different modules, first for easier maintenance, but more importantly because if there's certain parts of the app that won't be traversed by the users and when they're actually running it, then if I make a module, I can make that module lazy loaded, which is what I did right here by saying load children, and it's going to use a string path to find it. When this app loads, it's not going to load the heroes module until somebody goes to it. So it's a way of making it lazy load in the browser. Pretty cool stuff. Awesome. All right. So I put in the routing, right? Yep. And we've got the index, we got all this. Let's go try to run the app and see what happens. It should be running over here. It says it is. Who thinks it works? Hey, it says home works. That's awesome. Uh-oh, we don't have any way to get to menus to get there. Let's type in heroes real quick. And we've got heroes. The heroes works. So we're going to have to add some menus, and we're going to have to add a little bit of styling to our app because we did put in Angular material, so we should be taking advantage of that. A couple questions going on over there. Is it possible to work with Angular 5 and JavaScript without TypeScript? It is possible. I'm going to leave that to Ward and Mike Brocky to answer in the chat if they could. It is not recommended though. TypeScript does a ton of stuff for us and it makes it a lot easier in the long run to use it, but there are ways to use with JavaScript. So let's see here. Sweet, that makes sense. Yep, no worries. Need to pick up Angular to get the industry? Yeah, Angular, React, Vue, they're all awesome. Recently saw an Angular code base from Digital Drummer that the component imports the app home component instead of the path. Does it make a difference which way it's imported? I've never seen @app. Mike Brocky, have you seen that before? That's a good question. I usually use the relative path though. And can I eager load another module? Thanks for the question, Rambo Marino. I like that name. Yes, you can eager load other modules. So maybe we'll do that a little later. We could have put home and path into one called like home if we wanted to. So let's see here. Yes, Clarkio, please put Ward Bell to work. All right, so we got the app, we've got this running there. We need some kind of a toolbar now. So we have to put the toolbar in place. For now, let's go back to Angular material and let's grab some toolbar code. I'll copy this. We're not going to use all of this because we don't want 3 of them, but we can at least grab this and stick it in our app. And where am I going to put it? App component. Going to get rid of hello Twitch up top. And we'll get rid of that. There's a toolbar. not going to be called custom toolbar. We'll call this tour of heroes for Twitch. And I don't really want multiple rows here, so we'll get rid of that. We're not going to do any icons. Don't need that either. I like deleting code, don't you? Let's just make sure that that works first. We'll go back into here. And hey, look, we've got a toolbar. Yay! All right, let's see here. Oh, thank you, Mike and Ward, for answering the question about JavaScript. Awesome. Let's see here. Would you please show us some stuff related to core module versus share module? Yeah, I think that's a great idea, Hassan. I'm going to do that. Might not get to it today. That gets into kind of how you organize your modules. We might. We'll see how the time goes. But if not, we'll do it in a future episode. If y'all like this, I'll do this once a week. We can kind of get together. All right, so let's go back to our app. We want to have some menus in here. Now, this is where I lose my syntax sometimes. So I want to have a few things that we can create. And first, let's see, I'm actually going to go cheat and look at another app that I wrote where I can get some HTML because I am terrible at HTML, at least at remembering kind of what these things look like sometimes. So let me go grab that. And if I can find the app real quick, and I'll drag it over. Okay, so first of all, let's just do this. Up on the row itself, around the title, let's make this have a style called title, so we can just make it look the way we want to. And then inside of the row, let's add a couple of anchors like this. And then inside of those, the first one's going to be home, and the second one is going to be heroes. And then inside of those, guess what? We're going to use a snippet that comes with that Angular Essentials that I mentioned. Oops, Angular-router link. And the first path is going to be home. We're going to have a class called router link active. That'll make sure the highlighted menu is highlighted. And there's home. And then we got the other one's going to be heroes. A router link. This will be heroes. Boom. So now we should have two menus. We have a couple classes that we got to deal with. We got this title, and we got router link active. If we go look at the app, we can see now there's home and heroes. They don't kind of look the way we want it to. So let's customize that a little bit. Let's see, are any other good questions along the way? Pedro says, if you use Webpack, you can define an alias. Ah, yes, Webpack will let you do that. Good point. Thank you for pointing that out. Let's see here. Let's go back into the code. We've got these. We've got our router links, and we've got class. So a couple choices here. The class title, I can stick that style wherever I want it to be. There's a couple things I want to do, though. So I don't just want to add the style. I want to add some basic stuff for the body. Notice we've got a margin. So there's a margin around the toolbar. There's that white space. I don't really want that. So let's go add a little bit of style to our entire app. And there's some app-wide styles you can create in this file called styles.scss. So I'm going to create body with a font and a margin and background color. And if it refreshes, let's see. Yep, there we go. Now you can see we lost our margin. We'll have to deal with this. That I do want a margin down there. And then we also had this title thing. So for title, we want to add something into the component that we were using. So app component has its own SCSS, and it's going to have a title like that. And I don't know, we could do a lot of things here, but mostly I just want to get that title to have a space to the right, some kind of margin or padding. So let's add in a little bit of padding or margin, and we'll make it more specific. We'll do margin right, and we'll make it 1 EM just to see what it looks like. There we go. So we got a little spacing there. Now I put it in these SCSS for the app component because then this title class only applies to this app component. It's not across everything. So that'll get us there. Cool. Other questions here? No, you are not too late for this. Bright green. It looks like a Dolph code. Awesome. How can you hide this toolbar on login page, for example? Oh, good point. I would actually probably have a separate login page on the app, actually. That's the way I would do it, Christopher. But you could also have like your own code to do that. Usually a login page completely separate from me, so I wouldn't show any of this. So I'd have a separate toolbar component that wouldn't even show on the app. RGS27, if I have more than 100 modules available inside the project, bundling modification not working using Webpack. Really? More than 100 modules? Ooh, modules, wow. I've never had more than about 20, so I don't know. That's awesome problem if that's true. So could you possibly open an issue with the Angular team and kind of see if maybe someone's already opened that? That'd be awesome to find out. I love when people point out gaps like this. All right, so we've got our app component. We also need to make sure router link active is there. So for this one, again, I'm going to cheat a little bit. Sorry, but I have a couple of CSS things I use a lot. I just need to make a snippet out of this, by the way. If I make a snippet out of it, it would be much easier. I'll go back into styles. What I did here is I imported in the material theming, and then I'm creating a primary color. It's a certain shade of blue, and I'm using Sass to do this, and the primary color down here basically pulls that color in and sets the color, which is the foreground, to that color. And then I've got a background contrast color. So the cool thing about materials, it gives you a way to have contrast colors out of the box. And I'm going to set this router link active class to have the background color be the primary color and the foreground color be whatever the font color is. So by doing that, this router link active, which should be back in here, should automatically work. So now if we come back up and we refresh, it's not working there yet. That's not good. Oh, I forgot something. We made these links, they have to be of type material button. So let's do that. Let's go back. And now you can kind of see we've got home, we've got heroes. Isn't that sweet? Any questions so far? Looking over here. Let's see. Clarkio, thank you for answering the questions. Yes, I did click the button to record this for later, so Twitch should be doing that for us. Can you toggle the toolbar, for example? Yeah, there's a couple ways we could toggle it in here. There's an ng-if that we could use based on a condition. It'll either remove it or add it. ng-show, Pedro, was from AngularJS version 1. We can also just hide it if we want to and remove the visibility. So hiding and remove the visibility means it's still in the DOM, it's just hidden. ng-if will actually remove it from the DOM entirely. There's also an ng-switch that you can use to do that. Pretty easy stuff to do there. Just check it out in the docs. Cool. So we've got our basic app up and running. That's cool. And then I got this going on. I don't like this. So what I like to do is I want to margin around all those. Let's close all these windows. Now let's go to our home. And I like to wrap all of my components in a div. So I do a div like this. Why is my Emmet not working? There we go. I was too fast for Emmet. I'll do that. I'll press save. And I like to stick a class up here, basically to get a little bit of a margin. So let's call this class page content. And let's copy that. Let's put it into the heroes. And we'll do that. And I think we'll have path not found. Do it here. Like that. Close all those down. And let's go into our styles SCSS. We'll put it in here because this makes more sense for something that's shared across the app for CSS. And I'm just going to create a margin of 1 EM. Why? Because when it refreshes, now I've got a little bit of margin around the app. Whether I go to home or heroes, it's all good. Oops, that was not where I wanted to go. Let's go back. Cool. All right. So a couple good questions going over here. So what is Angular in brief? Its significant features, characteristics that would make it stand out, please. That's a long conversation. It's a SPA, a single page application framework or platform, as they like to call it these days. It allows you to create applications on the web. They're all JavaScript and HTML, and it does it on the client as opposed to being server generated. So it keeps the user interface. The big thing for me is the UX is much nicer with a SPA-based app as opposed to like ASP.NET rendered or JSP rendered, etc. Although I still use some of those technologies for backend. Let's see, other good questions. A lot of practice, yes. How do you get to be better at Angular? Lots and lots of practice. Just keep coding. First steps, really brushing up on HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Absolutely. It's really difficult, not impossible, to do Vue, Angular, React without knowing those things, but it is much easier if you understand those. So that's great. And a good tip from Obsidian, yeah, if you hold Command K and W to close all the tabs, I think that is true. If you right click up here, it'll tell you, close all. Yep, Command KW will do that. Pretty cool. With Emmet, can you write div page content tab and the div will create it? Yes. If I used Emmet, I could create a bunch of stuff. Like one of the common ones I see a lot is create like a div with a UL. We'll do it this way. And then that UL is going to have an li times 5, and it's got a thing in it called foo. And you notice it kind of creates it all at once, which is pretty awesome. Cool. Do not worry about your bad English. I have bad English myself, so you're doing great. Awesome. So good questions. Precision Twitcher. I'd like to see how you implement route-based authentication. Ooh, that's a great idea. I'd love to do that, actually. Some great demos that I could pull up. Let's do that in a future episode. Basically, I can show you various ways that you can do authentication with Angular and Node. And maybe I can get Brian Clark on board one day to join me with this. We can add the Node pieces, and then I can show you do the client-side authentication with Angular. Pretty awesome. Can we have your VS Code environment settings from Impale 987? Love that name. Like the theme, fonts, extensions. Yeah, I will take a screenshot of this later too and put it up on Twitter. But there's my extensions. Most of them come from this Angular Essentials. That's the big one. I also have a gist that's public. If you would check out my gists, I'll try to get a link, or maybe somebody in the chat can go find that, to my extension list. And then fonts. Yes, my font that I use, I'll show you that real quick. Where is my font? Font, who's got the font? There it is, Operator Mono. I actually bought this. I just loved it so much. It's a really nice monospace font. My backups are Firacode and Inconsolata. Cool, those ones are free. So we've got heroes, we've got the path, we got those kind of things in there. How much time we've got here? We have about 40 minutes left. So let me make sure you got other questions here, and we'll continue. Let's see here. RGS27. Is there any alternative available for bundling minification or taking production build other than reproducing the issue to the Angular team if I have a more number of modules? So you're having problems getting it to build with all those modules. Other than go to the Angular team, are there other options? At this point, you're probably going to need some kind of an expert to come help you. I know Ward Bell does consulting. I know Narwhal, NRWL, does consulting on this stuff. They can help you. But I would start with the Angular team and kind of raise it up there. Pierre Barhoni. Hello, sir. Do you plan to share the code at the end? Yes, absolutely. I'll stick it up on GitHub. And let's see here. You can use settings sync extension. Absolutely. So I use the settings sync extension, and it sends it up to a gist on GitHub for me. It's this extension here. And I made that gist public so everybody can see what options I have. So definitely go check out my gists on GitHub. To find that, just go to github.com, John Papa. And then if you go to gists, let's see here. There's a way to find your gist somewhere. Hey, there it is. I made a public one called Cloud Settings. It's this one right here. So that is the URL. Feel free to go look at that. I'll even post it right here in the chat. And if you look at that, you'll see a lot of different settings are in there. Like what extensions am I using? That's the first file, I think. A lot of stuff. You can even see my settings JSON files in here. Lots of cool stuff. All right, no worries. Glad you asked. Let's see here. Awesome. Looks like you're all answering a lot of the questions yourself too. That's pretty cool. So how are we doing on time? Looks like we're doing good. Boy, we got a ton of people in here. 172 on Twitch. I'm not streaming on Mixer today. Just wanted to try Twitch first, but I'm going to be doing that moving forward as well. If you enjoy this, by the way, there'll be a lot more coming. And you can also check out my good friend Brian Clark. I think he's Clarkio in the chat. He's been doing about 2 a week lately on Twitch. One more development related, the other one more IoT development. All right, so we've got the app. Next up, we probably should start getting a list of heroes. Before I go much further, I'm going to commit all this. This is kind of like my initial routing heroes layout with Angular material. I'm going to commit all of these just so we have it. That way, if we screw up, we can back out and do something else later. Highly recommend doing that. Generally, I commit quite a bit. All right, so in the application, we want to have some kind of a list of heroes. So in the heroes page, we're going to want to create a list, and we're also going to want to have some data to show, and we'll probably have to do a little bit of styling. For now, let's just start by creating a list. So first, we'll get rid of this, and we'll create like a, I don't know, how about an H3? Sounds good. And there's heroes, and then down below, we'll create a UL with a single LI. And with this, we probably want to have some data like heroes and, well, my mouse is gone. Where'd my mouse go? That's not good. That's not what I wanted to do. Let's go find my mouse. Sorry for the technical difficulty. Using multiple screens here, and it just kind of disappeared on me. All right, looks like I found it. Cool. So yeah, we're going to create a list of heroes in a JSON file. So let's go ahead and create a new file, and we'll save this, and we'll call it heroes.json. In a future Twitch stream, I'm going to create a function that'll do this, a serverless function. But I like to start small. And in the heroes, let's say we give the heroes an ID, and we'll make it proper JSON. Everyone makes fun of the way I say JSON. And then we'll have a name. And the name will have, let's say the first name is John. And then there's also going to be a saying. So heroes have to have a saying. My hero is going to be welcome. And then I'm going to cheat by using keystroke to copy these. That's Shift Option and then the down arrow. Makes a bunch of them. So we'll just change the IDs. And let's change some of the names. Who else we got in this one? We got Ward. Ward is going to say, I dress the best. And Brian Clark is going to say, I like, what is it, a sugar glider that you like? Mr. Brian Clark. All right. And we'll add some other folks in here. Let's add Colleen. Colleen says goodbye. And my son, we'll pick him in here. He's going to say pow, and we'll get rid of the other ones for now, but just some basic data that we can use to load up some information. Cool. So any other good questions? Yes, you're welcome for doing the stream, Justin. Thanks for joining. And let's see, Hoder in town. I love that. Great Game of Thrones reference. You need patience and shift away your thinking to learn some of this. Yep, absolutely. This is an example of guards check for authentication. Yes, we'll do some guards check for auth on this in the future. And Dutcher, yes, Restream is going to allow us to do multi-streams and services. I've actually signed up, I just not have connected it to Mixer yet. I'll be doing that soon too. On this project, we use JSON server or just JSON. I'm just going to use JSON and load it with an HTTP. But we're going to move on beyond this later. It's just a way to get the data running for now. But good question, John. Let's see here. And let's see. Yep. Laya82, you can use Faker.js to generate real data. Yeah, absolutely. There's lots of good ways to do this. I believe it was Noobcat who was using this awesome site. I forget the name of what she used. If you're still on Noobcat, what was the name of the site you used to generate cat pictures? Was that you who did that? Because that was awesome. That was a lot of fun. It was a great API to go get cat pictures. So once we have our heroes, we have to have a way to get those heroes up to the app. So that's the next part of the story. Let's figure this out here. Next up, we probably want to have, oh, thank you, the cat API. Thank you very much. Let's see here. Looking at my notes. Yeah, next let's go create the list. And to get the list, I think we started with that UL. Did I finish that? No. Okay, cool. So we'll do that. So let's create a list of heroes and figure out how we want to display these. Now we might want some kind of a class on this one to style the list itself. So I'll stick that up there. If we don't use it, we'll get rid of it. I like to stick on an ngIf. Now, this is probably overkill, but I have a snippet for ngIf. Could have just typed that, right? And I'm going to say if I've got heroes, I want to show this. Otherwise, don't show it at all. And I'll do heroes.length like that. Now, heroes doesn't exist yet, so the Angular language service, which comes with that Angular Essentials, is saying we've got a problem. And yes, we do. And then inside the li itself, we want to do an ng4. So here, I'm going to do for loop like this. I'm going to say let hero of heroes like that. And then inside of the li, we want to stick some stuff in there. We've got a bunch of different properties, right? We got ID, name, and saying. So we could do a bunch of these here. We could do div times 3 like that. We get all 3 of them. And then we could start off here. And what's cool is I can also use the multi-cursor. I'm hitting Command D. Notice I've got multiple cursors here. I can start typing like this. And I know they're all going to start with hero, and then a dot. And then I'll get rid of the multi-cursor by hitting escape. You can see that. Hero.id, we get hero name, and hero saying. Just so we have something there. Now, obviously, heroes don't exist yet. We'll have to go get those and create them. But now we've got the UI, at least, that's going to put it up there. Cool. A couple good questions over there. Jason's a no-go on the cat API. Yes, but that is pretty cool. Noobcat, I'm watching while I'm applying my makeup. Awesome. I did not apply makeup today, though. So you got it covered for us. There's a dog API. Oh, awesome. Not to be left out. We got cat APIs and dog APIs. Thank you for sharing, MD Vacula. No track by. Yeah, we can stick a track by in if we want. Not a big deal in this case. Only have a couple of them, but it's probably a good practice. The Marvel API is awesome. Yes, Oliver Combe. I assume that's you. O Combe. Thanks for joining. Good buddy of ours from Angular World. We can make an interface. We can do lots of cool stuff at this point. So we need to get the heroes from the JSON file up to the application. Now, one thing I almost always forget to do is this JSON file has to be added to the Angular CLI JSON. And I always forget the syntax for this. I believe we have to tell it up here in the assets, hey, don't forget that file. And that file is called heroes.json. Now, figuring out where it was located, if it was in the same folder as assets. So assets is here. So we want heroes to be one level down at this level. I believe that'll cover it. Why do I have to do this? Because anything in the assets array, and Mike Brocky, correct me if I'm wrong, but anything in the assets array of the Angular CLI JSON is going to automatically deploy those separate files. So these are assets. They're not code. So we have to make sure we get that to the server. All right. So here's JSON should deploy. And then once we've got that, we have to create some kind of a service to go get our data. We'll have to have a way to get it. Let's go back to our command prompt. ng generate a service. Now, in this case, we should create a service that's called like my hero data service or something. So I want to put it in the heroes folder. I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to call it, let's just call it my hero data. And then I also want to use the M flags. I want to provide this in the heroes module. So it's heroes.module like that. And I'm going to do dry run because I want to see what's happening before it actually generates the code. So it's going to create a spec and a service inside the heroes folder. And then it's going to update the modules. That looks right. Let's find out. So I come back over here, and I should have heroes data service. Cool. And then we've got our hero module with a provider. that looks like it is good. All right. So we're out of there, out of this file, and we've got our JSON file. So we now have to connect the service to go get the data, and then we have to just show it inside the screen. So let's do some work in the component as well. Let's check out any questions. Let's see here. Hodder Town. I just love saying that name. Hodder in Town. What are we referring to in normal? Oh, using Linux? No, I'm using Mac OS for today. Good question though. Boyer, list of public APIs. Yeah, that's a great list. That's up there. Todd Motto's got a great one too. Did anybody list Todd's on there? If not, please do. Yep, there it is. Yep, that was you. Sorry. Good job, Shane. And thanks for coming. Digital Drummer. I have a free step-by-step workshop that takes you from installing CLI to a full app. Awesome. Thanks for sharing the link. Watertown. This guy programmed Microsoft. Yes, I am programmer from Microsoft. Been working with them for almost a year. I'm a developer advocate. Asset configuration. Typical Brocky. You're going to send me a link to asset configuration. Let's see. Did I do it right? Yes, it looks like I did. Cool. And if you don't know, Mike Brocky is on the CLI team. He's awesome. Do you think artificial intelligence will take over the web design programming world in the future? I hope not. Skynet is not coming. At least I hope it isn't. Hodder in Town. But I do think AI is going to be awesome. And I'm going to do a couple episodes, Twitch streams on AI as well. So let's see. Find more out about, yep, John Papa. And hey, Noobcat, thanks for coming back in here. Awesome. Thanks for the ideas. So let's see, in our service, we've got this. In our component, we've got nothing yet. Let's kind of go top down. We've got heroes in our components HTML. Let's go into our TypeScript, and let's create a heroes array. And that's going to be, we don't have a hero object, but we'll create one. So we need a hero object. So let's go back to our generator. We do ng generate a class, which is CL, and we're going to call it hero. I'm going to stick it in the heroes folder. We'll call it hero. Cool. It's a single file, and it's right there. And this class just needs to have a couple properties. We've got ID, which is a number. We've got name, which is a string. And we're going to have saying, like that. Cool. Now we could have used an interface. I happen to like using the class because maybe I'm going to instantiate new heroes in the future. Now I can just import from hero. There we go. Now by doing that, we should, if we go back to our HTML, this hasn't refreshed, but if I go off the line and save it, there we go. All the red lines are gone because now it recognizes heroes as an array, and it's got ID, name, and saying, which is cool. So we have our heroes, but now we need a way to go get them. Cool, lots going on in the chat room over here. Let's see here. Noobcat, awesome, glad you're chiming in. Lots of good APIs. Shane, it sounds like you got a 404 in that public APIs link. Could you check that out? Royal Atlanta, ATL, I'm hoping I got that right. Quintine, I went from interface using classes to using types. Yeah, you could use types too. I tend to like classes. It's not that big. People complain about how much code you generate, but it's not that much. Hodor in Town, is Angular the best JavaScript framework to learn, economically wise? That depends, honestly. It depends upon like what you prefer. I like Angular. Why? Because I've built really, really large apps in it, and they performed well and done great for me. And I'm talking really large-scale, massive apps that are on the web, and some of you may have used. So it's worked great for me, so I trust it and use it. I've been playing quite a bit with Vue lately. I enjoy that a lot too, though. Thank you, Noobcat. Looks like you corrected that link. Awesome. So, yeah, I hand crank links a lot too, Shane. Thanks for trying, though. All right, so we've got our heroes here. Nothing's going to show up yet. We want to go get those from our service, though. So where did my notes go? Got a couple of things I want to do. I think to close this one out, because I got about 24 minutes, I'm going to go get the list of data and then display them on the screen. But before we do that, let's make sure we've got everything we want to get. So first, let's go back into the service. Tab with 2. Yes, for the win, Impale987. Tab with 2. All right, so we're in the component, but I want to talk to the service. So in the service, I want to go make an HTTP call. So Hodor in town, thank you. You might want to, yep, learning in your portfolio. I would learn a little of each, honestly. React, Angular, Vue, they're all cool and they're all powerful and they're all popular. Best bet is to maybe spend a day or two with each of them and just write a sample low world app. They all have CLIs too. Pretty cool. All right, so inside of my service, I've got a couple snippets, and I forget what they're all called, but let's try one real quick. Let's go to the bottom, and if I do a-service, I've got one for HTTP client. Let's see what happens. Oh, that's cool. So I basically have one that generates this service from scratch. And we could get rid of this and this and this. Look at that. Nice. Hey, who wrote that? So inside there, I basically pulled in what I wanted, which was it's going to be injectable. That helps in case I inject something into this, which I am, the HTTP client. And then I've got my HTTP client reference, which allows me to use HTTP calls in my constructor. So we can do that. Cool. Yep, Vue is very beginner friendly for those looking to get started. Yep, I like Vue a lot. Latest version is really cool. All right, so first we're going to want to have some kind of a function called like get heroes, like this. And get heroes should do something. So I think I have another snippet. Let's see, HTTP, got a bunch of them in here. Does HTTP client get? So we could return HTTP client get the URL. So here I could have my URL, which should be the root, I believe, since it's putting it. That's where my heroes JSON file is. So we're going to do heroes JSON. I believe that's it. Now we could stick this in like an API folder or something too, but we don't necessarily have to do that. So that should get my heroes and return that as an observable back to whoever calls this. Good questions. Let's see here. P1XTT, the wiki and the Angular CI repo is a great resource. Yes, the wiki's great. Hopefully they'll move over to the docs sometime soon. Angular's most complete framework. Yep, good questions and chats about Angular and Vue going on. The Quintine says, catch error operator. Yes, this is one of the new, they called them lettable operators. Now I think they're calling them pipeable operators, which is probably a better name for it. Maybe we'll take a look at that one in the next episode too. We do a little error handling. General problem, thanks for joining. Could you when make an episode to explain how to organize large Angular apps? Yes, absolutely. Like huge apps that need code structure. Maybe code splitting and NPM packages, routers. Yes, that sounds like a great one for the future. Let's see how this one progresses and we'll kind of go from there. Thanks for joining. Some folks going to get your wisdom tooth taken out. Yikes. Can't read that. It's bright green. But thank you for joining. Is HTTP GET deprecated? I don't know if it's officially deprecated. Like last time I checked, it was still there, but I think it might be a good idea to start switching over to HTTP clients. A little easier to use actually. It's got more power. We can do things like HTTP interceptors too. Yep, it's called HTTP client module. All right, so we've got the data. Hopefully that works. We need to go back to the components. We probably want to have a function here called get heroes, just to be clear. And this one's going to go and call that service. So to call that service, we need to inject the service. We're going to inject that into the constructor using dependency injection. And this is going to be our, we call it the hero data service. And I can do hero data service like that. We are already pulling it in. That's awesome. Up top on line 3. By the way, I like to separate with a space my Angular or third-party imports from the ones that are part of my project. Why? Because it just makes it easier to read to me instead of having them like be all mixed up together like this. So you'll see that in a lot of my code I do this. All right, so we've got the hero data service. Down into get heroes, I should be able to call this dot your data service dot get heroes like that. And that should return to me the data. Now we could call that in here. ng on init is what's going to call it initially. Now you might think you could just do get heroes equals this dot get heroes. Problem is, and it's telling us, this is an array. That's the this dot heroes, and this is an observable. So how do we deal with this? Well, what we do is we do this.heroes. Yes, I think I actually have a snippet for this too. A.subscribe, like that. So let's back that out and I'll show you. A.subscribe, and call the service, that's hero data service. The function is get heroes in this case. The argument is going to be my heroes. The property is called heroes, and it's getting set like that. So let's see here. We've got a bug, it looks like. Let's comment that out for a second. What are you complaining about? Object is not assignable to a hero array. Cool. I like when it tells me what's wrong. So let's go back over here and get heroes. We've got the get. If this one here is doing that, we could then say this one is actually going to return a hero array, like that. Oh, I just forget the syntax. Let me go look that up real quick. Maybe remember the syntax to make sure it gets mapped properly. I think on the get, I can use a generic here, like that. I'll need to import hero. Let's hover over get heroes. And yeah, now it's an observable of hero array. And over here, it should be happier. Cool. So I did a little code there. Let's see if anybody has any questions. Cool. Looking forward to it. Awesome. Thanks, General Problem. Impale. Yeah, I like to do the same. Yep, I agree. Hey, Frosty. Yep, still going. And then, hey there, John. What do you think about returning a promise in services? Because most cases don't need RX. So I'll be honest with you, that's a good question. I used to use promises a lot, use them for like 7+ years, and they're a great asynchronous way to get data. Still use them a lot in Node. In Angular, I'm using RxJS more often, not just because it does the asynchronous stuff for me, but there's a lot of other cool stuff that's kind of built in out of the box. But to be honest with you, I use RxJS primarily in Angular because so many other things in Angular automatically use RxJS, like reactive forms or routing. So when we kind of extend this app, you'll see it just makes it easier. Now I can just use RxJS everywhere as opposed to RxJS in some places and promises in others. All right, let's see. Got some testing examples. Frosty, yep, good question, great. Yeah, and it works with async pipe. That's a great point, Frosty. Thanks for adding that. For those of you who don't know, Frosty is Aaron Frost, and he's a good friend of mine, and he helps run the NGConf conference, which he and I will both be at in April, so please join us. I could add an interface to Get Hero. Yeah, I could do that. Thanks for coming, Noobcat. Hi guys, what framework could I use from Nick for writing a backend API from orders management from Angular? You're familiar with Laravel, but that's not optimal. Yeah, if it works and you know it, continue. What other technologies do you propose? My favorite for backend technology is Node.js. But in the future episode, we're going to add a Node.js backend with Express, and then I'll also convert it over to using serverless functions in the cloud. That'll be an exciting one. So Nick, check us out for that one. I'll make sure I advertise that. Let's see here. Frosty, because that most people recommend using observables. Yes, they do mostly. It's also very consistent. Hodor, thank you for the cool stream. Thanks, man. Go study for your exams. Is it possible to use GraphQL with Angular? Absolutely. I do not, but you absolutely can. Almost everything's possible. All right, so let's see. Heroes. Got our get heroes. We're subscribing it. What's going on in the subscribe? Subscribe says, give me the heroes that came out of the observable, and then set my this heroes, which is up on line 12, to what came out. Let's just see if it works. Is it still running? We had some errors. I couldn't find hero before. Let's Command K, clear that, and I'm going to just put save in there, make sure it saves. It rebuilt it. Let's go look at the browser. There's home, and there's our heroes. No, they're not there. What happened to me? Let's go check it out. Are there any errors? Yes. Let's see here. No provider for HTTP client. I got bit. Does anybody know what that means? It's a great error message, by the way. Does anybody in the chat know what I got to do? Help me, Obi-Wan. You're my only hope. Can I say that on Twitch? Classic. Yes, absolutely. All right. Add the module. Yes, include it in the modules. So let's go find the module. Now I could stick this in a couple of the modules, but it makes most sense down at the root because I'm going to be using HTTP all over the place. So up here at the top, I could probably import statement, and it's at Angular. Oh gosh, I think it's common HTTP, I hope. And we'll come back over here, and it should be HTTP client module. Save. It looks like it's happy. There's no red lines. No red line means it's good, right? And then we could come down here, and I could add, that's not what I wanted, HTTP client module. Should be building. Let's go look at here. It rebuilt. Here's our app. We have no more errors. That's good. And then here's heroes. Next error. Let's see here. Null injector. No provider for HTTP client. Let's check that out. Hero data service. All right. So let's see. Because I made this guy be a separate module, this lazy loaded module. So what's happening over here is this module doesn't have HTTP client injected into this one either. So first, let's do this the long way, or the easy way. Let's go back here, and let's just take that, we'll comment it out, we'll go back into heroes module, we'll stick it into my heroes, and we'll grab this, and we'll stick it into my heroes module. And we'll go back and see if the build works. Seems to. And there's our app. Here's our heroes. Now we just have a path problem. Path not found for heroes JSON. So let's actually go check what's going to happen. When I get confused when I'm using a JSON file like this, easiest way for me to figure it out is let's open up let's go back to the terminal. Let's kill this, and let's do ng build. So why I'm doing this is actually going to show us what the build process is doing under the covers in memory with Webpack, so we can kind of see where is that file getting output. All right, so let's see in the chat. Missing module, yes, absolutely. The Bach. Oh Jesus, the Angular system syntax with a mess. There's a lot of code there, yep. But there's a lot of tooling that makes this so much easier. And that's the snippets I'm using are helping out quite a bit. So Impale, yeah, right now we needed to load it in the heroes module. Later in a future episode, we got 10 minutes left here, so I'm gonna get this one running, and then I'll commit it. But in a future episode, I will split the modules up and show you how it's much easier to reuse code that way, especially HTTP client. So if I go look in the dist folder, that's what the output created. Notice there's hero JSON right there. And what was data service looking for? Heroes JSON. So why didn't you find what you were looking for? Let's see, let's try that real quick. Come back over. We're gonna do ng serve o, because I think I killed that. So it's time to include the service and the provider. Yes, we did that. Lay L. Are there any Python devs on Windows? Need a little help. Any in the chat doing Python? All right, let's see what's happening here. It's loading up. I think Webpack's still building. Yeah, there we go. So there's the heroes, and there we go. The path works. It ain't pretty yet, but it is a first step towards building the application. And we can format this, and maybe in the future, I'll kill this one. Or refresh there, it should work. There we go. Maybe in the future we can pick out some other things, like there's a list over here. We could actually use this list and kind of pull it in, and that'll work for our app, just like that. Quick second, my wife is coming in just 1 minute, so let me go and just take a quick pause. I'll be back in just a moment. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. Thanks for sticking with me. So we've got just a couple of minutes left. Let's be ambitious. Let's try to take this list and actually make it look decent. So if we grab a basic list, you could grab this code right here. Let's go back to our app. Let me commit this, right? We got heroes. And I'll come back to our app. Where's our HTML for our heroes? Instead of doing these divs, what if we did a mat list like this? Oops, I think I'm in the wrong place. We want it down like that. And here we've got our role list item. We'll save it out. It's unhappy right now. It's kind of cool. It's not a known element. That's a hint that we didn't actually import the mat list. Anybody remember where we do that? Down here should be right an app module. So here we can do mat modules, my little helper, and we can go look for list. And is there a list item too? Let's go look. I believe if you look at the TypeScript, it doesn't really give you a hint here. So mat list is there. I wish this would tell me which things I need to import to make the list work. That's a good hint. Maybe I'll add that as a PR. But to see there's a list and a list item. So let's make sure there's not a module for the list item. So if I go back over here and we type in mat list module, there's a grid list module. Is there an item? List item is a control. It doesn't look like there's a module for it. Okay, so you might be okay. So that's there. Let's go back to the HTML. Let's save this again. And it's still unhappy. What happened? Oh, I didn't import it. It's cool. Let's see here. Yeah, it's just list module. Thank you, Isaac PL Man. So I imported at the top, but you also have to import it down here. The top import is just saying go reference that thing. The bottom one is where it actually pulls it into the Angular app. So to go back over here now and we do space real quick and save it. Should be okay. Let's close this out. Actually, no, it's not, because we're using this in the root. This is going to get back to what we do in a future episode. We need to import it directly where we're using it right now. In the future, I'm going to create a module that shares all this stuff. So for right now, I'm going to import the modules right where I use them. And we'll leave that there for now. It's not going to hurt. And then we'll go back here to the heroes. So just like HTTP gets used inside heroes, so does the mat list module. So then if I come back to here, there we go. Now it knows what the heck that thing is. Yes, Mike, thank you. Import my hero module. This is the fun of having multiple modules, right? It's actually why someone asked earlier in the chat why I create a shared module. I create a shared module to basically be just a name of a new module I create, which shares stuff out across the app. And this is what I do with my material stuff. I'll create a shared module which has all my material things, and then all the other modules import that. And it just makes life easier, so you don't have to figure out who's using what. It really, really makes it much easier. So here's our list items. We're not going to need 3 of them because we're going to use the ng4 and all that fun stuff. We can leave the list there. Let's go do an ngIf, and let's grab this ng4. Let's see if I can grab it right. And that's going to be on the item itself. Let's save that, bring the item down, and we're not going to do item like that. Instead, we're going to just stick some divs in there for now. We can format this later. We'll leave both for a moment. And let's come back to the app. Here's heroes. And now you can see we've got a little bit better looking list in here. We can format that one and make it look a lot better later. For now, let's just comment this one out. We'll remove those two, and we'll remove this list up top. Go back to heroes, and there we go. So you can see how you can add a new component into the application pretty easily. Let's commit this added map list to the hero modules. Cool. So any other questions? How do you get APP model? How to do get APP model? The API JSON response is different from the model interface. That's a great question, Nick. So thanks for asking that. Sometimes your data on the back end is not the way you want it. For example, I made my heroes look the way I wanted them to, but let's say I wanted to get the heroes, but they're in some API call that they're embedded in an object called data.x.foo.heroes. Lots of things could be there. What you can do is use the map operator with RxJS. That is here. We do right here after the get. So let me show you what that kind of looks like. If I do I think I have a map in there, right? Oh, Rx. I have a snippet for adding a operator. So you can do that with map, just like this. You import at the top of your code, then you can use a map at the end of this get. Say map it, and you could change what comes in and transform it to the shape that you want. Super powerful when you've got that. And we'll try that out when we do a future episode using Node. That'd be awesome. Good question, Nick. Bittermandel, pip throws an error. We're having a Python chat going on. It's awesome. Love seeing it. FT Boyer. Wish there was an auto import option in the tooling, but you import that module in the heroes module. Yes, Leia. I put that in the heroes module. Shane, yeah, there's an import option if you do command dot, but some of them it doesn't work with. Like when I do the HTTP client, it doesn't work. So that's probably what you're referring to. Cool. Let's see here. Mr. Boyer, VS Code is auto import since a newer version. It does, but it doesn't work for everything yet. But every day it's getting better and better. So I don't use any extensions for that. It just works with TypeScript. Another reason to TypeScript for the win. Let's see here. Heroes length. Oh, you're looking for den DP. Heroes length. Let's go show that. So I could do heroes length like this. That would allow me to say, all right, if there's no heroes object, it's not going to blow up. So I could just say heroes. This is some people call it the Elvis operator. Basically, if there is no heroes object, it's not going to evaluate length, so it won't throw an error. So we could do that too. Yeah. Good point. It null checks the heroes. Yep, exactly. I don't always do it because I'm kind of checking that right here with the ngIf anyway, so I should be good. Is that suggested? No, I don't use the question mark unless I need to, but it's not going to hurt if you add it here. Mike Broppy, yes, you're right. Thank you, Mike. It's no longer map, it's pipe map. Thank you for correcting me. So at the end of this get, we would actually do dot pipe like this, and then we'd stick the map inside of there. So I kind of broke this out just to show the way the syntax works. You'd say pipe, and then you put all your operators in there. We'd have to import the RxJS up here. So we could do operator map, and then down there with the map, we'd come in and we'd say, okay, what are we getting? We're getting our heroes, and then we could map that to what? I don't know, heroes, whatever your transform is. In this case, if it wasn't heroes, you could take the heroes, you could take the data and do x.data.heroes returns back heroes. So the pipe is basically a series of operations that you're going to use to manipulate in some way the stream that comes out of this observable. All right, so we're good there. We're going to go to map. Thanks for chiming in there, Mike. Isaac Peelman, watch out for mixing pipeable in the old version. Yes. Do I plan on doing a React stream? Maybe in the future. I'm going to do a Vue one soon too. That'd be fun. But I think I'll do Angular and Vue with Node first. Thank you, Saving Apollo, for asking. Isaac, on line 3, you import catch errors in the new pipeable way. Yes, I do. I didn't add it yet. We'll add that when we actually, there's no errors now, but we'll add that when we move on to creating serverless functions. And yep, Mike, thanks for adding in the import. And Rambo Marino, oh, that pipeable versus old is probably one of the reasons tutorials following wasn't working. Maybe. I'm not sure if they deprecated the old style yet or not, but I know they're going to deprecate it. The pipeable is really cool because it allows you to just import what you want as well and gives you a little bit better IntelliSense too. Why don't you use the async pipe in HTML from Leia? I don't in this case. I could. That's actually a really good point. So instead of doing heroes, let's see, what did I change? What's in my get? Let's undo these get changes. So what I could have done is I could have said, make this an observable of hero array. if I do that, I've got to pull in an observable, don't I? Down here, let's just copy that so I don't lose the code. We got get heroes. We could then do this dot heroes equals like that and save it. So now what we're saying is we actually want the observable to come back. Our heroes are no longer a array. They're now an observable array of hero. And then if I got the syntax right, we have to go to our heroes component. And then instead of doing this with heroes, I think we go pipe async like that. We'll have to do it up here too. Pipe async. I get the syntax wrong there. Not sure why is that one unhappy. Oh, then you got to do an as, right? So yeah, you could do like as. Oh geez, some people say like the first one is heroes and the second one is heroes observable. So heroes array, we'll call it, just for grins right now. And then we can go like that. Then we can change all these others. So I'm not going to change the syntax right now to do that, but that's the idea, is basically you can async pipe. In this case, there was no real advantage to doing it. But when you get into reactive forms and NGRX, those things become a lot cooler to use and a lot cleaner. So maybe we can do an episode on NGRX in the future too. Cool. That is a few minutes over time. Glad you all came, answered a bunch of the questions. Hopefully this was fun and useful. I'm going to push this up in a GitHub repo. We're going to put it up at GitHub. Actually, let's go create the repo real quick. I won't make you watch me push it, but I will show you where I'm going to put it. So let's go up to John Papa at GitHub. We'll create a new repository. And what did I call the app? You can do this command line, but let's just do it from the browser for a minute. TOH Twitch. Let's go put it up here. We'll call it TOH Twitch, like that. And this was a Tour of Heroes demo for Twitch stream. We'll make it public. We're not putting anything in it yet because I'm going to basically just push everything into my local up there. So that'll create the repo. I'll fill out the README and all the other fun stuff. And then you guys can all just go check this out, you guys and girls. Twitch format's awesome. Yeah, I like it too, Mr. Cube. Hopefully this worked for y'all. Isaac, thanks. Good work. Thank you. Must be hard to get feedback. So many people while you code. Yes, it is. But I like it. And could you drop in your global Angular CLI config as well? The only thing I've changed, P1XCT, was that one setting Mike Brocky showed us, which is back in the chat. That is for the styles extension. So if you go look at my local one, the only thing I added to my public one was this default style extension SCSS. Everything else I pretty much live with the defaults on. So thank you all so much, and this will be up on video on demand, and I hope you all enjoyed this. So welcome, and hopefully there'll be many more. I'll probably do a different day moving forward in the future, but I'll try to pick something around the 12 or 1 o'clock time frame so I can get both East Coast and West Coast in the US and get Europe as well, where it's not too late for them. So thank you very much.